Okay. Are you playing the intro music?
Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around.
Plenty of blame to go around.
Join Dave Cyrus and Marissa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey, guys.
This is hello,
Yep.
Dave. Hi. We got Marissa Smith here, don't we?
We do.
Who else we got over there, Marissa?
We've got Phil Causey with us.
Hello, children.
Who else?
At the moment, that's it, but I will.
What?
Yeah,
I was told there'd be 2 guests.
I know. You left. You're out in LA, so I just got all the booze, and we've just been doing Jaeger bombs this whole time.
I told you to stop giving people liquor. It makes them less political.
And Dave's away. We shall all play.
I'm in LA doing work.
In my experience, booze makes some people more political.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he
Think about it.
he bitches when I bring beer on the show, and so I just don't feel like him whining. So I just brought munchkins.
Well, you didn't have to deal with a drunk Chris. The first time we got beer here, people got drunk off their asses.
He had 2 beers.
He weighs 85 pounds.
I'm not his mother. He should know how much beer he can drink.
Yes, well, spilt milk, I guess.
But
Point taken.
how much dealing with Chris did you have to do? Didn't you just see him in the elevator?
Exactly. I had to deal with all that.
All 45 seconds of the elevator ride?
We made small talk on the way out as well.
We've got Sarah back with
Living it.
us.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
So, yeah, I mean, you didn't really have to deal with Chris.
Look, I know Chris very well, so I can tell you, even a moment is too much. He's a great person. Anyway, how you guys doing?
Magical. Thanks for asking.
We're good.
Got super lost on the way back from the bathroom, which is pretty embarrassing, but I'm doing okay.
It's a weird layout.
Yeah. So now, Phil, who do you think the Democrats should float for 2020?
Well, this is a very specific answer. Are you ready for this? here?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who are listening who are wondering about Trump and who we're gonna run, my top pick for 2020 is the governor of Montana, Steve Bullock.
Okay, so
And I realize saying that everyone right now is going, who the fuck is that? And pausing this and Googling him probably right now, which you all should.
Well, an important thing to remember when talking about the 2020 election is that the incumbent president like Trump, especially one who's such a baby about, elections, is going to say things like whoever runs against him has to be famous now. But if you really look at the history of elections, most people become famous off the primaries.
Exactly.
Bill Clinton was not a famous person until the Democratic primary. So there's really no reason that anyone who's a prominent politician right now should be out of the race.
Yeah, well, nor was Obama. No one heard of him until that primary either.
Well, he had the big keynote address
Yeah.
at the
True, but
2004 election, at the 2004 convention. That was his big thing, though.
Well, that's the thing. But anybody who wasn't a political junkie really didn't know who he was at that point. Is kind of what I was saying.
Yeah. He
So-
had that was a very big coming out party for him in 04.
Yeah.
So now, why do you think Bullock should be the go-to guy?
Well, here's the and by the way, I'm not in any way officially associated with him or any campaigns. I should probably put that disclaimer at the top.
No, but you send me
Because-
enough messages that
Yeah.
this guy right here.
Well, the reason why is because he won Montana twice as a progressive Democrat in a state that Trump won.
Right.
And so he has massive cross-party appeal, and he can probably win back almost all, if not all, of the states that got swung in the wrong direction in 2016.
Mm.
Well, I remember years ago, people used to say the only way a Democrat can win is if he's Southern. After Clinton, that's people really believe that you have to be a Southern Democrat because that's the only way a Democrat can win enough of the red states to win an election. Of course, that changed, but Montana basically counts the same way.
Uh huh.
It's middle
Yeah.
of nowhere. It's red.
Exactly.
It's red country. So yeah, it's if you look like someone who can get those people because unfortunately, in a very weird way, the right as of this moment doesn't really have any ideology. There's nothing there's that specific that they hold on to and say this is what we really believe in. They've become very cult of personality. They're like wrestling fans, and the thing about wrestling is that things can swing much faster than in a real political world.
They are
I never thought of it that way. That's pretty funny.
they are pretty fixated on being anti-choice and anti-abortion across the board, which could hurt Bullock. Is that
But
how
the
you say
prob-
it?
No,
Because
you're
Well,
he
no,
has,
why would that hurt him though?
well, because he's super pro-choice, and he's defended Title X, which is a government, which was a bill that funds like reproductive health care, and he also right, like he supported Title X, and he also supported insurance plans being required to cover birth control and abortion. Like
Yeah.
I
Two
think.
things. Sorry.
But I don't know. I don't necessarily know that could hurt him. He might that might if he can, sort of keep that from being a focal point, that then he might be fine. Because he would I think he would lose a lot of women's votes if he did change his position or if he acted like he wasn't. But
Well, I think right now
Well,
anybody.
there's no possible way a Democrat can win any election if he's not pro-choice. And the
Yeah.
two things to remember, important things to remember, we are still a country where the majority wants abortion.
yeah,
We're still a country where a higher percentage of people, even though it's close, still are pro-choice. And it's important to remember, Brett Kavanaugh is only there because of the promise that he's going to get rid of abortion. And I think a lot of the at home Republicans, the ones who, let's say, believe more than the people in Capitol Hill of Trump, they don't realize that abortion is never going away. They're just being used as a political tool to raise money.
Well,
So now that they actually have enough people in the
it's
Supreme Court to get rid of abortion, when they don't, these people might start realizing that this was always a fake story, that they were never going to get this. They just wanted to be whipped up about it.
that's sort of true. Like yes, it's not going away on a national legislative scale, but like Missouri is about to it might be about to become the first state with no abortion clinics. Like there's one left, and they are like a lot of anti-choice groups are lobbying really hard to close it. And there's a case going up right now that could close the last clinic in Missouri. There are huge swaths of the country where it is not available, and you have to drive hours or even days, like to get to a clinic. And so, like it is being undermined at an alarming rate in ways that a lot of people don't realize. Like
That is true.
even
That
though
is very
trap
true.
laws were it was ruled that they were illegal, like they are like it's still a trap law that's going to close that last clinic in Missouri, and that also affects Kansas. Like there's like so I'm also biased because I work for Lady Parts Justice, and that's an like this is all we this is our jam, this is all we talk about all the time. But so like if he can do anything to make abortion less accessible, because like the idea of Roe v. Wade is not just that it be legal, it's that it be legal and available, and it's currently not. Like as of this moment in America, huge percentage of the population are not able to get an abortion, or if they
Well, let me
are,
ask you this.
yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
That is very true. That is the sort of extra legal way that the right is trying to get rid of abortion by simply adding all these fake restrictions and trying to just make it impossible to have one.
Yeah.
But is it possible? Is it possible that the reason there was only one abortion clinic left in Missouri is because it is just such an awesome abortion clinic to put them all out of business?
It is a great
That
clinic.
people are like, I will drive the extra hours to go to this one because it is immaculate.
I have been there. It is a great clinic. But I
Good for
don't
them.
I don't know if that's I don't. They're just so amazing that they no.
Why do you hate capitalism, Sarah?
That's a great point. I love capitalism. I just don't like getting figuratively fucked by it.
It sounds like you don't like free
fucked and
market
impregnated.
abortions. It sounds
Yeah.
Sounds like she hates babies.
Oh, I
Yeah.
do. I super hate babies and I love abortion.
No, I agree with that part. I just think that we shouldn't be taking all this. We shouldn't be taking all this business away from the only game in town in Missouri, apparently.
And good for them for outlasting.
Well-
But yeah, I do think it will be interesting to see what happens if Roe v. Wade isn't overturned and if they do get real
But like
pissed.
the real problem is really the definition of undue burden, right?
Yeah.
So like that's where most of these states get away with so much, is because the whole concept of undue burden is so nebulous that it's like, well, there's one abortion clinic in the whole state. It's not an undue burden that you have to drive 8 miles, or it's not an undue burden that you have to drive 8 days. Like, it's just like, it's the whole, there's no like firm footing on what is considered an undue burden.
That did get solidified a little bit, though, in the trap laws case, where they said that you weren't allowed to do these laws that would that close clinics. And so like there is,
And a lot of it was like stupid shit, like the walls, the hallways had to be certain width,
wide
and
enough for a gurney. And then you had to have admitting privileges to hospitals, and those were ruled illegal, like that type of laws, but they are still in place state to state because it didn't get
right.
enforced. But and it's also, what's especially egregious about this is like the gurney privileges, like you have to be able to get a gurney in and out, because the idea is like, oh, if you need to get a stretcher in, but like abortions are safer than most dental procedures, and they're safer than a colonoscopy, and like
Except for the part where you're murdering somebody.
right, except for the baby, the baby gets but like proctologists and dentists don't have to do those things, and so it's just and a proctologist's medical waste is way grosser than an abortion clinic. So, shenanigans.
Yes.
Anyway, I didn't mean to go down an abortion wormhole, but it's all I do all the time.
It's important to talk about.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. Bullock does seem great. I like that. Didn't he pass a law where they, like, politicians in Montana have to say where their funding comes from? Or
Well, actually, yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. So there was a case in 2012 which he was trying to push, so you had to disclose your thing, because I guess they were the last state in the country that, like, you had to disclose your money, but the Supreme Court overruled him, and currently he's suing the IRS over campaign disclosure, which is hilarious.
That's amazing.
The balls on this. I mean, that's living the dream. How many people wish they could sue the IRS?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. He's like the anti-corruption candidate.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is one of the things that Trump ran against Hillary on is, oh, she's corrupt.
Right.
So this guy is so uncorrupt that that's not an avenue to attack him on.
Yeah, and he's suing the IRS, which, that'll be a good tie-in to Trump not releasing his tax returns. And I'm sure that Trump wishes he could sue the IRS. So, yeah. But also, so I get this mix. So states have to disclose, right? State politicians have to disclose where their funding is from, but like on a national level, they don't, or like super PACs
Well, what
can
happened
get
was
around it.
the Supreme, because federal law supersedes state law, so the Supreme Court overruled his state ruling.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I just remember being real mad when Congress voted against like some disclosure law, because I was like, that's so obviously acting in their own interest and not
because they
our
don't
interest.
want
us
to know where their money is coming from.
Exactly. But I was like, that's just so blatant. Like when it's blatant like that, it drives me nuts. I'm like, be a little sneaky. Like sneak it into something else. You know what I mean? Like sneak it into some other tax bill.
Like we don't even deserve the smoke and the mirrors. It's just like, here's our shit, eat it.
I
Like,
know.
like-
I miss
That's
the
what I
clever
miss the most
lies.
about government. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really miss the days when they at least tried to lie to us.
Right?
When they pretended, like remember that Pennsylvania politician was promising he would get enough black people off the voter rolls to win the election?
Yeah.
You're supposed to lie about that.
And in Georgia too, all of
Yeah.
the friggin' voter like
North Dakota.
North
They're
Dakota.
openly
yeah.
gerrymandering. They forgot it's supposed to be a secret.
Yeah, I mean the
How many black people are in North Dakota, though? I mean, really?
Well, it's the Native Americans that they're trying to keep from voting, and so they basically passed
Yeah,
a
this
law.
isn't about George.
What?
Sorry, George is the black person in North Dakota.
It's not about George, okay?
He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so basically, like in North Dakota, the Native Americans and the indigenous people, they've been using their tribal IDs to vote the entire time, and their tribal IDs do not have a street address. But then they just passed a law, like within the last couple of months. So like they were able to vote in the primary, but now in like the real election in November, this law just went into effect that said that like all eligible IDs have to have a street address, which means that like most of like the indigenous people of North Dakota are not going to be able to vote because their IDs don't have an address. So a lot of the tribal leaders are putting together like a new tribal ID so that their people can vote.
You know what though? If they don't like it, they should go back where they came from.
Yeah. Oh, it's so ridiculous. And then it was in Georgia where the Stacey Abrams, is that her name? Right? Is
Yeah,
running?
she's running, and then the guy that's the Republican Kemp is
Yeah,
Oh, have you
who
guys
is it?
seen that ad?
Who is an incumbent, right? Incumbent?
No, he's
no,
not
he's
incumbent.
the
He's just
he's
some
the
redneck.
state.
Ah.
I think he's the state.
Wait, the guy who said he's going to step on your face with golf shoes?
No,
No.
Kemp in
You know what-
Georgia.
have you seen the ad?
That was a
ad that
different
he's
state.
famous for?
No.
Oh, dude, if you guys are bored, I think there's a bunch of people have
They're
it
listening
YouTube.
to the podcast. They are. Go on.
Okay, yeah. Well, pause and go on YouTube. There's an ad. I think somebody has it titled like "Greatest Campaign Ad Ever," and this ad, I swear to you, it plays like almost like an SNL skit. Like if you didn't know it was real, you'd think it was fake because
Wait.
it's so over the top conservative on purpose to the point where it's actually funny.
Is it the guy? Is it the truck that he has? Is it him in the truck?
I got
and
a
he's
big
like,
truck.
I'm gonna round up
Yeah.
the illegals in my truck.
That guy.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, cool. I believe you. I believe that you're gonna do that. You're gonna put him right in
And
your
his
truck.
opponent had the deportation bus. Did you see the deportation bus ad?
Oh,
And he called
yeah,
them
that's a
rapists, yeah.
different. Yeah, that's a different race.
Oh,
No, it's
you-
not. No, those are both Georgia governor primary ads, and Kemp
Perfect.
won over that guy. His name, I forgot what his name was. He had a very white-sounding name, obviously, but yeah, he had a deportation bus tour as his campaign.
Oh, you got a
thing.
truck. I got a bus.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna put him right in there. Okay. This is not political. It's political in that it was a political race in Richmond that gave me a lot of delight and pleasure.
Mm.
The mayor, who I believe won, his last name was Butt. And then there was a city
Nice.
council member and their last name was Pimple. And so there was Butt and Pimple on the ballot. And I was like, you know what? I might move to Richmond. That's amazing. I want to vote.
Who you
Can I-
voting for,
can I
Butt
say
or
something?
Pimple?
Let me say something about that guy, Scott Wagner, the Pennsylvania guy who did say that he was going to stomp on the governor's face with golf spikes.
Right.
Here's what's amazing about that. Do you know how sad it is that you're trying to sound tough and your toughest references are to golf?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the whitest candy ass thing I have ever.
Mhm.
You are the weakest bitch I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah.
When you think that golf shoes are what a tough man wears.
I'm gonna step all over you in my golf shoes. I swear.
I'm
Is
getting
this
the
something?
vapors.
My
I'm getting the oh gracious.
My
Get your
cat-
face down here so I can step on it.
I'm gonna put down this embroidered umbrella and give you the business.
Yeah, my caddy can beat up your caddy.
Yeah.
The other guy's name, by the way, is Michael Williams with the deportation bus ad.
Oh, with
if
the
anybody wants to
deportation
take the
bus.
time, hilarious. ad.
The bus is the better ad than the truck, because the truck
no,
was
the truck one's funnier, but the deportation bus one is he basically is a one-issue candidate, and
Yeah.
he's running on like I want to just deport people from the
Right.
state, and it's hilarious.
And does Georgia get a lot of? I don't know. I mean, maybe they do. What do I know? Maybe they do have a lot of refugees, but do they?
well, they're near Florida. Florida has a lot of people from like Cuba
True.
and all the islands.
there's-
Good Lord, it's not
Yeah.
the immigrants in Florida that you have to worry about. Like
Well,
everyone
there's
knows.
migrants all over the place. I mean, they're everywhere.
No, I mean, I
that's
know they're
not-
everywhere, but like you're right near Florida. Your concern should not be migrants. Your concern should be gators and Florida men. Like that's come
Yeah.
on now.
Yeah.
It's the natives of Florida, and I don't mean Native Americans. I mean like
That's right.
Florida men.
Should be
The
Gators and Gator
Floridians.
fans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, talking about the immigration and migrants. So, like, there is a caravan of 4,000 Hondurans that is making their way towards the U.S. They should be approaching the Mexico-Guatemalan border.
Great segue, by the way. Can I just say that was
mhm.
fantastic?
That was
Yeah.
seamless.
The Guatemalan Mexico border. And so, in preparation of this, Trump and his administration are contemplating doing like a reboot of the family separation. I don't. It's not an act. It's just
Oh, the policy.
the policy that
Yeah.
they put together.
The zero tolerance policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, even though they've already been told that they can't do it, but they're trying to put it together before this caravan gets here, and they're threatening both Guatemala and Mexico that if they allow this caravan of migrants to get to the U.S. borders, that they're going to cut off funding.
Well, let him say that because he doesn't even know. He doesn't know what the funding is to these countries. He doesn't know what trade deals we have with these countries. He's just saying this to say it. So the last thing we should be worried about is that Trump is going to follow through with anything. You know, one of the leaders of China, one of the main government people there, said they don't know how to negotiate with the United States because it's the first time the president is not the president because the government does not follow the president's policies. So
I mean, it's not the first
weakness
time,
of the
though.
president.
I mean, we had jelly beans. You know, we had Reagan. It's not the first time the president
Yeah.
was not the president. Plus, Bush was barely the
Yeah.
president.
How dare you
But they
speak
were
badly
never,
of that
but,
wonderful
but they
artist?
worked within a system. They worked within a system that could be understood. They weren't out there saying things that their own people were ignoring.
No, it's true. They were under control. Like, they weren't the
Right.
president, but they were reined in.
Right. They
it's
were
true.
aware of the fact that of what the position they were in.
Right.
I mean, like I said, we've said many times, there are so many ways he's worse than the worst other presidents we've had.
Which
And he sounds
what's gonna
he's
make
so
us
scared.
what's gonna make us nostalgic for Trump? Like, what in 8 years are we gonna be like? Remember Trump? It's gonna be Kid Rock. That's what's gonna make us
I
nostalgic.
think. Well, no, I
I
think,
think
that if
it's
we
going to
are
be
in a
Eric
situation-
Trump.
Oh God, it will.
I-
It's not gonna be the one you think. It's gonna be Eric.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. Oh God.
Yeah,
Or
I
just
mean, I don't
wait
think
like
that
20 years and it'll be Barron.
Or Tiffany. Yeah.
I think if we're that kind of country, we'll kind of cease to be in a country before we get to that point. I don't think the
You think
nation
we're
could
all
actually
going to die
survive.
before we get to Barron Trump as president?
I think if we were a country that would want that, I think we'd probably collapse before that. Yeah.
I don't know that we'd want it. I mean, I don't
No, I'm
think
saying
that.
for a country that would elect him, I don't think that's a country that would survive 20, 30 more years.
You guys should make a bet. 20 years.
Yeah, we're going to be dead
Right?
by then.
I also don't think Marissa will live that long.
What's taking me out, Dave?
Oh, God knows. It's a confluence of factors. I don't
Freak
know. I just
karaoke
feel like
accident.
You're gonna piss off the wrong person.
Oh yeah, I piss off the wrong people a lot,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
Here's what I want to talk about. This is something I really want to talk about. I know we brought it up earlier. I just really need to bring this up about Khashoggi,
yes.
which, by the way, we've known about Adnan Khashoggi for years. That's how we always pronounce it. Now everyone's saying Khashoggi, so I don't know what the right one is. All I'm saying is, here's what I haven't heard anyone bring up yet about the murder of Khashoggi. Of course, he was the Turkish journalist who was an American resident who we believe was murdered in the Saudi consulate.
There.
I thought he was a Saudi Arabian.
Excuse
yeah.
me, sorry, he was going to marry. He was in the. I'm sorry, he was in the Saudi consulate in Turkey.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a former Saudi journalist who was an American resident.
Right.
I believe that he was murdered in the embassy because of the same reason that Russia was willing to murder their former spies. I think they recognize a weakness in the presidency.
Mm.
I think they are recognizing that this is an opportunity to clean house, as it were, because they have a temporary situation where the U.S. president is purely transactional and is abandoning the whole moral high ground thing that presidents usually had. I don't think this would have happened under other presidents.
Isn't it confirmed that he was murdered? Didn't they find audio? Like, they said there was audio, and everyone was wondering if that was
Well,
possible. And then
the
I thought
Turkish-
Turkey confirmed that
The
they
problem
had
is the
audio.
Turkish newspaper said it, but
Oh.
the Turkish newspaper also said other things that are scientifically impossible,
Okay.
like that they used his fingerprint to unlock the Apple Watch, which does not exist.
Okay.
What,
So,
the
I'm not
Apple
gonna
Watch
say-
doesn't exist or his fingerprint doesn't exist?
That fingerprinting does not unlock Apple Watches.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that exists in any Apple Watch.
Yeah.
So we can't be 100% sure. Turkey has had issues with people misunderstanding the difference between real and tabloid journalism.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not true.
Yeah.
They're saying there was a recording and if there is a recording, we're gonna hear it.
Okay.
But we're not 100% sure. But there's almost no argument here that the man wasn't killed inside this embassy. Trump is now resorting to the idea of just saying, "Oh, the king of Saudi Arabia, he was so upset when he heard this. Oh, it's just terrible the way." Yeah. So that's what he's going for because, of course, they thought they were going to get away with this. They thought there was
Yeah.
never going to be proof, and they could just say, "Prove it, fuck you."
Yeah.
So I think that this is an example of, look, wouldn't Saudi Arabia, looking at Trump, looking at the way Trump is a guy who he's very comfortable dealing with criminals, he worships autocrats, he has shown many times that there is no moral center there. Of course, they're going to say, "Hey, I think we can get away with killing these journalists for a little while."
Mm.
So I think that you're correct in the sense that yes, like Saudi Arabia knows that they have like free reign to do whatever they want at this time. I don't necessarily know 100% that I agree that this wouldn't have happened under any other president, just because of the fact that they have a new ruler that's young and he needs to make like a big splash. Like he kind of needs to show everyone that like he's the new guy in town and he can do whatever he wants, and he's been doing that. I mean, he imprisoned his own family. Like I think that he's
So you think this is a message?
I think without a doubt it's a message, but I don't necessarily know that the message is so much related to Trump as it is that to
Well, the message isn't about Trump. The message is don't fuck with us. But that they see Trump as weak enough that they can get away with this because Trump obviously does not care about this sort of thing. He loves the idea. He would give anything to live in a country where he could do this.
Oh, well, I think that to a degree. To be completely honest, I think they would have done this under any president because this guy, like, what is he, like, in his 30s, King, whatever his name is?
Oh yeah, the crown or the,
The
crown prince. Yeah.
Yeah. So so the crown prince has taken over. He pretty much he kind of started a coup. He's putting his family in like, prison and hotels. Like they're not in like real prison. But I think that he's just one of these guys that's he's just gonna shoot up the place just to show that he can. And so I think that he would have done this regardless of the president, just because he needs to like show that he's dominant and that he is a wild card. So
What about Skripal then? Do you think Skripal would have been killed under Hillary Clinton or Obama the way he was with poisoning on an ally's soil? Because that one more so than this screamed to me they are taking advantage of Trump right now and knowing that they're never going to have a president this week.
again, like that that was the England thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they
So
poisoned and they
like
killed
Yeah.
seven people.
I don't think that had anything to do with him, because that's really a Theresa May thing.
And also Putin
Has
did,
killed people before.
has killed people before, and also has expressed a lot of hate and a desire to punish people who did what that guy. What was his name?
Skripal.
Skripal. Yeah. Because he had tried to make money off of the fall of the Soviet Union, and Putin had said like that he wanted to punish people like that before. And so I don't know, that might have been because it was really brazen, and also like someone else who wasn't even related to it died, right? Because they tried to do it with perfume and then it got sent to someone else. Is that right? That's the same
Well, his
case.
daughter his daughter died with him, I believe. Or is she still alive?
No,
Dave?
they didn't die. It was it was the random people.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
poisoned
It was
died.
just a random person, like they didn't want
Two
yeah.
people. Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean that is pretty brazen.
Skripal lived.
Yeah. But his daughter did die, right?
I don't know if his daughter died.
I thought somebody in his family died, and then also the random person. I gotta Google
I
this.
thought it was
Well,
the daughter.
her name
but-
was Yulia.
Yeah. But like he's poisoned other people before, and I can't remember his name, but he survived the poisoning, and his face just got real fucked up.
Yeah, that was
Nice.
that was an actual.
That was
candidate.
that was a
Remember.
different.
But yes,
yeah.
Skripal and his daughter both survived, and it was the couple later that accidentally got hit by it that died.
Yeah.
But yeah, Skripal lived.
Oh yeah, both
So they
Skripal and his
so they're
daughter
incompetent
lived.
at this anyway.
Yeah. So like, but I think what my point is though is that Putin would have done this regardless of the president, and if
I
he
don't know if he would have done it in England. That's what I wonder.
But like
I
him
we know
doing it
Putin
in
kills.
England, I think says more about his disrespect for Theresa May than it does about his
But there's no
reassurance of
question.
Trump.
Right, but there's no question that under a different president, there would have been much bigger consequences for this
Oh, for sure.
in England. And I think Putin is aware of that. I think the attempt to kill Skripal and his daughter was one of the many ways Putin is trying to
I
cash
don't
in
think that Putin would have
his.
done it under Thatcher.
Well, I think that's a he wouldn't have done it but there was also a different situation where Thatcher was powerful because of her connection to Reagan.
Yeah.
I think that this was an example of Putin cashing in his control of Trump. This is one of the perks.
I mean, there certainly would have been more of a response from us. That's true. Um,
And enough of one that maybe they would have not done this because they did it in a. Here's the thing: killing a spy with poison, tells the world the KGB did this.
yeah, I didn't realize
They,
48 people sought medical attention from that attack.
Oh, I didn't know that
Yeah.
either.
killing people with poison means we wanted people to know the Russian government did this.
Yeah.
And same thing with this with Khashoggi. They're killing people in very public ways, and that was the thing. Usually, it's not that hard to get away with murdering someone, with making it look like a robbery. It's weird the way that these are now getting to be so dramatic.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely splashy.
Yeah.
yeah, and that feels like related to Trump and related to because what Trump has done by not ascribing to what all the other U.S. presidents had of this kind of moral high ground, this kind of like moral uh, absolutism, is it doesn't. He thinks he looks at it and says, "Oh, we don't have time to be moral. Morality is for stupid people. It's for the weak. I'm going to run a country where we just win." The problem is when you do that, you create an environment where more people want to commit these crimes. So, like he looks at it as the world will be no different except for I'll be like this, but it's not true. It's like if someone said, if we got rid of all cops, there'd be less crime because they say, well, cops do this and that. But the problem is if there were no cops, a lot of people who would never have committed a crime before now would. And that's what changes it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. I think it's hard to like know for sure because it's such a hypothetical, like whether they would have done it under a different president, but certainly the reaction would have been different. Um, I think I kind of agree with Marissa. I kind of think that Khashoggi was gonna be murdered. Like that seemed like
I think that if it might be a different outcome if this was different if the crown prince wasn't trying so hard to make an impression, but I think because he's kind of like strong arming the whole government there, if you want to call it a government or I
I mean,
don't
we
know.
could talk about this in a grander way that this is part of the overall planetary shift towards
Fascism.
totalitarianism,
Yeah.
towards tyranny,
Yeah.
and that this is an example of how look at what's happening in Germany and Italy,
yeah,
where we have
Germany
a
is scary. Yeah,
terrifying hard right turn that could very well plunge the planet into end times.
yeah,
We
and it's
cannot, as a planet, survive a bunch of Donald Trumps and Putins running every country.
yeah, and the Khashoggi thing. There are so many echoes um, of when the what's his face print when the guy was
Prince Harry.
executed. That no uh
William.
no the death that started World War One.
Oh,
Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. I was just having a brain fart there, but like just like
Wait, you don't have Franz Ferdinand's name on the tip of your tongue all the time?
so I weirdly I don't. But yeah, just sort of the one small event, setting off national repercussions that and create like deepening already existing divides. I'm not saying that this is necessarily going to be World War III, but it is just one of those things where it's like, a person dies and leaders fail to to respond in.
Well, I kind of feel like this is the domino effect that we were worried about with communism, but instead it's really like totalitarianism, fascism, that like one by one across the globe, like all these governments are falling under these like totalitarian dictatorships or oligarchs or, it's interesting because now this is where I would say that I think that Trump being president is a factor, is that typically the U.S. is the one that would try to push back against this in a global
Yeah.
sense. And that, who watches The Watchmen? And we don't have one. So we're just kind of just need Canada to pick it up for the next 3 years
Yeah, that'd
until
be great.
we can get somebody in here that actually is an American.
Yeah, because the only person watching The Watchmen right now is Stephen Miller, and
He just wants to watch them burn.
no,
Like-
he's so terrible. That was the thing with the Kavanaugh.
Why does Stephen Miller want to steal all these children? Like, what is he?
I don't know.
Like, I think he wants to
Well,
use
didn't
them
you
for
see him in
batteries.
college? Did you see his speech in college about the lazy, the lazy cleaning people?
the
Yeah,
article.
as he would just
That was
throw
a-
this garbage everywhere, and he's like, "Well, they were paid to pick this up."
Yeah, the article that he wrote. Yeah.
Now
Well, it's
he
because
looks like
Stephen
someone
Miller-
that should
Stephen
have been
Miller-
bullied more in school.
Truly.
Like if he had his
Stephen
ass
Miller and
kicked like
Trump.
10 more times, then he'd be a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he does have that kind of face of a man who's never been punched. Well, Trump and Miller truly believe in the idea that all cruelty is proof of your manliness.
Mm-hmm.
And so they see this idea that the meaner they are, the more cruel they are, especially to people who can't fight back, the more it proves that they're big, tough guys. That's the extent.
That's because they
of
can't
the
rely on their
psychology.
dick size.
Yeah.
That is
Oh, yeah.
small dick energy.
I was so glad when that was confirmed. Like we all knew he had a tiny mushroom dick, but like now we really know that he has
Yeah.
a tiny mushroom dick. Like that's nice.
I mean, you look at he's 6'2". Well, he used to be. Now he's 6 feet tall. But I mean, he does have very. When I met him, I actually literally thought this guy's got weirdly small hands, and it was before that became like a thing.
No, they're quite small. I mean, they're small.
They're fat, but they're small.
Yeah.
They're short-fingered.
They're
They're fat hands because he's a fat man.
Mm-hmm.
But
No, I think
I
that
mean,
should be stressed more. I thank you for saying that because I feel like we overlook that a lot. Like he's so terrible on the inside, and this is a concept in submitting evidence. Like when you open the door, I feel he's opened the door to having his looks mocked. I don't think we should usually mock
no.
people's looks, but like he's fat, and I think it's important that we all remember
We're
that.
That
punching
is
up.
body
it's
shaming.
also-
I know
Yeah.
it is, and that's why I'm saying I
that is
don't condone it normally, but he opened the door.
That's fine. The reason why he's so mad at everyone's because he hasn't seen his dick since '85.
Yeah, but he should thank
very-
his lucky stars. No one should see that.
No, you make fun of somebody's looks, you open the door for that. He thinks he's handsome. He
Yeah.
thinks he's a beautiful man.
Yeah, and he's calling Stormy horseface. Like, what?
He
You
got a
fucked
butthole
her!
on his
Why did
face.
you pay to fuck her?
Like $130,000. Like apparently that horse face was worth as much as a fucking pony.
No,
That is a prize-winning
No.
horse face.
Yeah.
no one thinks he didn't fuck her. No one believes he did not have an affair with this woman.
No, he
So
he,
he's
he
doing
did.
this just as an exercise of showing I don't compromise even when everyone knows I'm lying because because the people who like him believe lying is a show of strength because
Ugh.
that you have the gall to do so.
Ugh.
Yeah.
They respect him for lying because they think it's what a tough guy does.
Yeah. It's not.
And that's why they don't care when he's caught lying because they think he's lying on behalf of them. And they just love him as a person and they think that he should just destroy everything to feed his ego because they want to live vicariously through him.
honestly, I think that Trump voters should have to spend like a week with him.
Oh,
They
I
would
think they would
not-
love it.
I don't know.
They would- oh, they wouldn't. Are you kidding me? If any of these people had to have Trump as a boss, they would kill themselves or him.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that I think a lot of them would still be like so in awe and enamored because like he's like their daddy and like it's just kind of like, well, of course, like, he's a tough guy, he's a businessman, he's a boss, he acts like a boss, which I think that I think that's like a part of the reason why like so many men, like young men, are following him. Like, did you guys hear about the Proud Boys?
Oh yeah.
That so the Proud Boys have been demonstrating across the nation, and the Proud Boys are what they are self-described as Western chauvinists. And so I've been trying to do a little research on it, and hopefully, I'm sure they're going to keep this up, and I can do more research on it. But they don't consider themselves to be alt-right, but
No
they
one does. Sorry, go on.
the alt-right does apparently. But they a lot of them marched at Charlottesville, and they just got into like a street fight in New York City with some Antifa guys, and like a bunch of them, like, I guess, like attacked like 3 Antifa guys. And I don't know. To me, I think that those guys all look at Trump as like being some sort of daddy.
Yeah, they do. Well, these are all
But-
guys who just wanted to stay in frats forever, even though they didn't go to college.
Yeah, I think a week with him in their house though would change their mind. I think a week of having Trump in their house and
Yeah.
really like he's staying in their house and like they have to feed him and deal with him. I think that would change their mind. But I don't know. Maybe I just say that. Yeah.
To
Well,
be honest, I
in-
think
what public person has had so many of his own people turn on him?
That's the thing. That's
As
what
a-
I'm saying. Like working for him clearly sucks so much. Oh man, yeah, I'm reading about this Proud Boys thing. Ugh.
These guys are
And I
hilarious.
spent a week working with him, and it was a joke. But the Proud Boys are they're just little boys.
They're
who wanna call-
hilarious.
Man,
They're just
this
they
is
just
not
want
even.
to be little boys
They're-
who want to have what they want.
These
They're
guys
just-
are a part-time hobbyist. They're the open micers of hate groups. Okay, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
they
all they
really are
are.
attacking people. Like they're not just, And
Yeah.
also, why are there not white people in this picture of them? I'm looking at a picture of them, and
so. This is
'Cause
another
you have to be diverse in
phenomenon
2018. Okay, even
that
they got the idea.
is interesting is
Ah!
that the Proud Boys actually do have a lot of non-white people in them, and so, but they also are white supremacists and are also white nationalists. But so I was reading an article about the men of color in this group, and so they claim that racism doesn't exist and that it's a lie that's perpetrated by the Democrats in order to keep people of color down. And so the Proud Boys of Color is kind of like why they are a part of this group, because they don't believe that racism exists.
And look how cool that makes them feel to the other Proud Boys. I bet the approval they get from these new strangers is so overwhelming.
I would
It's
just
like
think
any
like,
Republican who's black gets to be on TV the next day.
but
It's like it's a bribe, basically.
But my question is out of all the names they could have come up with, Proud Boys, it's so lame. At least Antifa sounds like we're Antifa. Like
Yeah.
that sounds like more
Antifa
menacing.
sounds like dinnerware.
But-
Neither of those groups I take seriously. I think they're fucking both jokes.
But like at least Antifa sounds a little bit more menacing.
But
But like
also-
Proud Boy,
wasn't Antifa? Did they call themselves that, or did that? I don't.
Antifa is a term that refers. It goes back to Nazi Germany.
yeah,
they
they're
were the people trying to stop the
anti-fascist.
Right.
Nazis.
So they
That's
didn't.
why they're hated by Trump people so much.
Right. So they
Because
didn't.
they harken back to fighting Nazis.
They didn't call themselves that. They weren't
No.
like we're the group. Like other people called them that. That's way better than being like we're
We're
the
the
Proud
Proud
Boys.
Boys.
Antifa is the
Yes,
definition of what they are.
Queen.
We're
They're
boys and we're
anti-fascist.
proud.
Antifa is nothing but an abbreviation of what they are.
Yeah, anti-fascist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which
they're
we're
a very
gonna
s-
have some explaining to do when we have to tell our kids why we were like, yeah, Antifa was so lame. They're gonna be like, what? What does it mean, anti-fascist? Wait, what?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to explain that. That's gonna
Right,
be
you better agree with me, or I'm gonna punch you, because
well-
I'm anti-fascist.
because I'm anti-fascist.
But we're gonna have to wrap this up. But before we go, just everyone say where your people can find you, what gigs you have coming up next. Phil.
Okay, so if you're in New York City the Sunday before Halloween, go to Comedy Fight Club, see me tell some incredibly racist jokes on stage. You can also find my satirical writings at thesocialjusticeweekly.com, and you can check out my podcast at The Fake Outrage Report.
Sarah.
You can follow me on social media. It's just my name, SarahHartshorne. That's on Twitter, and it's the exact same on Instagram, except it's Sarah B. Hartshorn, SarahB hartshorn. And you can also go to my website, officialsbh.com, and you can sign up for my email list, and then I'll send you information about the shows. I swear I'm going to start doing that like this week. This is the week for sure that I'm going to do it. But also, you can check out Lady Parts Justice. That's where I work and I write for them. And we have a show that will happen before this airs, but you can watch the live stream. It's called The Golden Probes. You can go to thegoldenprobes.com. It's a awards show being hosted by Margaret Cho. Stormy Daniels is one of the presenters. Dan Savage, the cast of The Orange is the New Black, Francesca Ramsey, Akilah Hughes. We have a bunch of amazing people, and you can see the live stream of that on October 28th. So it's thegoldenprobes.com, and on that site there's also all the information about Lady Parts Justice.
Dave.
Dave Cyrus, Cyrus, on Twitter and Instagram. You can see me dressed as the Terminator at some party on Halloween, probably, because I don't have any gigs because I am too busy with other stuff.
And you can follow us on Twitter at the Blamestorm. If you enjoyed the podcast, please rate and review us on iTunes. Follow me on Twitter at Marissa Smith. And also check out my other podcast, Big Talk and Brewskis. That's been our show. This is Blamestorming. Good night.